I
So
love books like that, where you as the reader get to feel smart and like you know things that the characters don't, and
yeah.
then you see them coming toward each other, and it's just this sort of slow motion car crash.
Yep.
A book I felt like that with was this was years ago, but Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age. I liked that. I actually
Yes,
used
I
it
did
a
read
little
that.
bit for inspiration for Favorite Daughter because it's a dual point of view story
Hmm.
with these two women, and you know, like at the reader, as the reader, you know what they're thinking about each other and how wrong they are in their misconceptions about each other, and then you just sort of see them spin off of each other, and you know that it's going to blow up.
Hey, I'm Les,
And I'm Ree. This is Not That Kind of Book Club.
a bookish podcast where we read it so you don't have to.
Hey guys, welcome back to Not That Kind of Book Club. I am Les.
And I'm Ree. It's a bookish podcast where we read it so you don't have to. And special guest on the podcast today,
Heck yeah. Well, first of all, I'm back.
Les is back. Welcome back.
But we do have a special guest today. We have Morgan Dick. She is currently in Calgary, Alberta, and she is an author that we got to read her debut book for our book of. It's not even book of the month. It's like book pick of the
Book pick
period of
the
time.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's just our current book pick. But yeah, we got to dive into her debut book and we absolutely loved it. So Morgan's here today. We're going to chat all things siblings. We're going to talk all things favorite daughter, and we're going to go from there.
Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you both so much for having me. I'm so excited. I listened to your first episode, and there were so many times. It's funny because I was listening to it at the gym on the Stairmaster, so I was simultaneously dying, but also there were like 10 things that you were talking about where I caught myself wanting to talk back and then had to like remind myself that you weren't there, that this was a podcast that I was listening to and that I couldn't actually have a conversation with you, just because it was such an interesting conversation. I think the two of you together talking about books is magical. So I'm happy to be here and to take part.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. And I guess, you know what? We obviously have you on for today, but you're going to have to write another book and come back on because having you here is just magic too.
I would love to.
Yes. Okay.
Write that down.
Write it down. Schedule
Amazing.
it in.
So, you know what? Let's just start off super simple, Morgan. What have you just finished reading? What are you reading right now? And what's next on your to be read list?
Okay. So one book that I just finished reading is a book that actually comes out in 2026 in January. It's called Dandelion is Dead. I was reading it because I was asked to write a blurb for it, which was very exciting. Cool author milestone. First time I was asked to do that. That's a really fun book because it's sort of a literary romance about this woman who her sister passes away. She's grieving this loss, and then she has her sister's phone, and on her phone are all of the dating apps that she was using. And so the sister who's alive is looking at the dating apps and then starts like communicating with someone from the app, and then they meet and she pretends to be the dead sister because she's like grieving and unhinged, and
Oh my
so
gosh.
that is chaotic and fun. That was a great read. A book I just am in the middle of now is She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock, which is super fun, also quite unhinged. I tend to like unruly women and women doing questionable things in the books that I read and in the ones that I write.
Heck yeah.
And this is definitely no exception. It's about she's an actress who is trying to get a role as Maria in The Sound of Music in a Vancouver production. It's can-lit, it's a Canadian indie novel. And she just does increasingly desperate things to try and get this role. So that's really funny and dark and kind of like Mona Awad. I don't know if either of you like Mona Awad. She's one of my favorites.
Okay. Might have to look into her.
I was going to say I've never heard
Nope.
of her, but
Really?
now I'm like
Okay.
Add it to the
taking
list.
notes.
Yep.
Mona wrote Bunny. That's probably her biggest book. If you knew, it was like a big book talk book.
Okay.
But
I'm
yeah,
just
if you
getting into
like,
the TikTok right now.
I'm still semi-afraid of it, so no worries.
To be honest, I think I avoid it now because I hate reading a book that everybody's talking about. So when a brand new book, so for instance, when Iron Flame came out or Onyx Storm, I would avoid TikTok, and then I still haven't read them because I was like, I don't want my algorithm to give me all the spoilers.
True. Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's tricky because our algorithms get trained to provide us more of the same, right? So just because you
Yes.
liked Iron Flame doesn't mean you want only Iron Flame content or books like Iron Flame, right? I think it's
Yes.
an issue because it can get hard to discover new things with the way that these algorithms work. We just sort of get fed more of the same. But anyways, yeah, so that book is She's a Lamb, which is fantastic so far. And then did you ask what's one book that's on my TBR?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to think about this. I have a very long, very stacked TBR right now, but
Don't
one
we
book
all?
yeah, one book I do want to read this summer is Margot's Got Money Troubles by
Okay.
Ruthie Thorpe, which is, I think, like a year or two old. It's not a new release, but it got lots of buzz and attention, and I still find a lot of people bringing it up in conversation. And it's the one about she's a young mom. I think she's like 18 or 19 and has a baby, and she ends up living with her dad, I think, from whom she was estranged previously. And the dad used to be a pro wrestler, and they sort of work together to create her an OnlyFans account where that she uses, yeah, that she uses to like have an income for herself and provide for her and her baby. And the dad is sort of chiming in with his like 90s wrestling, performance expertise, I guess, right? It sounds
And this is called
wild. So,
Margot's Got Money Trouble.
yes,
Okay,
Margot's
our
Got Money
producer right
Troubles.
now is laughing so hard at the whole synopsis of this. He's into it.
Okay, so sorry, not to interject. I have a book up top behind me. It's called The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, and
You can swear.
I shit you not. The main character, like without spoiling it, she also has an OnlyFans, and like she's really like into this one guy who like really subscribes to her OnlyFans, and then
Okay.
he disappears one day. She disappears because she's like, well, he left. But anyways, she ends up becoming the nanny for his kid, but she doesn't know it's him because they both had pseudonyms. So like they don't know it's each other until like little pieces start coming together, and you're the whole time you know this, and I'm
my
just
gosh.
like, oh boy. So
I love books like that where you as the reader get to feel smart and like things that the characters don't,
Yeah.
and then you see them coming toward each other and it's just this sort of slow motion car crash.
yep.
A book I felt like that with this was years ago, but Kylie Reid's Such a Fun Age. I liked that. I actually
Yes,
used
I
it
did
a
read
little
that.
bit for inspiration for Favorite Daughter because it's a dual point of view story with these two women. And like as the reader, what they're thinking about each other and how wrong they are in their misconceptions about each other. And then you just sort of see them spin off of each other. And you know that it's going to blow up. So that to me is very satisfying whenever we get that kind of insider angle, I guess, into the characters and get to feel smart as readers.
And I feel like sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I get secondhand embarrassment when I read books like this when you know everything because
Sure.
you're like, oh my god, like you
Sometimes
have
it's
no
too
idea
much.
what's coming.
Yeah. Well, I had that during Favorite Daughter.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh
because
dear. Yeah.
you know these things.
Yeah, and you're just like waiting for the train wreck to happen. But before we delve too much into the book, this episode.
Hey, I gotta tell you what I'm reading.
Oh yeah,
You
we're gonna do
skipped
ours.
us.
We did
You
skip
skipped
us.
us.
We're
I
less
mean,
important than you, Morgan.
as you know,
wanna
the
know.
book that we just read was Favorite Daughter. So I'll kind of just talk quickly about like the book I'm reading.
Yeah,
right now.
please.
So, Rihanna, you'd be so proud of me.
I am.
I'm reading a nonfiction book.
It's like a personal development book too. This is huge.
This is huge. So, it was actually written by two humans on Instagram. So if you ever have heard of at ADHD Love. Anyways, so as somebody with ADHD, I'm always kind of looking at things about ADHD. But anyways, okay, this one is called Dirty Laundry. So it's this one, but it's essentially why adults with ADHD are so ashamed and what can we do to help. And it basically like breaks down each kind of big symptom of ADHD, and like it's just a fun way to kind of read it. So me and my partner are actually kind of reading it simultaneously, but it's like symptom 2 is time blindness. So this is chapter 2.
Us showing up late this morning.
Literally.
Sorry,
And
LB.
It's like, sorry I'm late. I sat on my bed staring at the window for 25 minutes for no reason. Like, it's awesome. So that's what I'm reading right now. And then the next one on my list is actually a new release. It's Caught Up by Navessa Allen, which from Dirty Laundry to that book, polar opposites. That one is a very dark romance, and this is a nonfiction about ADHD. So here we are. Your turn.
My turn. Just finished reading another Calgary author, actually, Josie Balkas. I hope you remember.
Yeah.
Which was so good. It's a book of poetry. She's fantastic. She is, I think, a New York Times bestseller right now, which for like her first publish is amazing. So just finished up that one, as well as Favorite Daughter. Currently, I am reading Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a nice kind of summary book. And then up next, probably going to go with The Leap Year Gene, which is an older title, but I'm really excited to read that one. Should be kind of interesting, a little bit sci-fi, a little bit fiction.
Yeah, I
I read that earlier in the spring. I did
And?
enjoy it a lot.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a sister. It's a story about sisters
Yep.
as well. So if that's your jam, then I think you'll like it, because it's what I liked about it is the premise being that this person ages at, I think, a quarter of the normal rate, right?
Yes.
So every 4 years she gets one physical year older.
Yeah.
It is sort of like that, yeah. But she has a baby sister who ages at the normal rate. So it starts off where the little sister is younger, but then over time, the little sister gets older in maturity, both in her body and her mind, and has to become like a bit of a caregiver for the main character, who, even though she's like, 50, she's only 16 in terms of her physical and her mental maturity. So anyways, very interesting sibling story, I think. If you like that, you'll probably enjoy the Leap Year Gene.
That sounds really cool,
I'm
actually.
pretty excited to read this one.
That's wild. Now I'm going to have to add it.
Yeah.
You'll have to text me the name of this one and I'll add it.
I will. Sounds
Sidebar,
good.
what I really just thought of too, we should almost have like a conversation around how many books are on your TBR. Because not right now, we'll put a pin in it, but just like thinking back to this now, I'm like, oh my God, the number of books on my my Goodreads is probably whack. Mm-hmm. But okay, let's dive into the
let's
the
dive
bread
in.
and
So
butter.
first, meet Morgan Dick. Tell us, who is Morgan?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
I know we're going deep right off the bat
Goodness.
here.
I am a writer. I live in Calgary. I'm a writer. I also work as an occupational therapist with kids, which is super fun. And in my writing life, yes, this is my debut novel that just came out. I love to spend time in nature and in the mountains. I love spending time with my family, and we are a big kind of chaotic family, which I think ends up in the things that I write in different ways. It's one of the reasons I've always been drawn to reading family stories and complicated family dynamics. And so that for sure makes its way into my writing. It's interesting, the stuff that ends up in there. I think it's sort of its own form of therapy, because things that you've only, I guess, half processed or maybe not processed at all end up in the things that you write, even though you maybe weren't expecting it. And I definitely felt like that with this book. There was a lot of different parts of my personal world that sort of emerged while I was writing it. So it was therapeutic that way. But yeah, I mean, that's me. I love being outside. I love drinking coffee.
Don't we all?
I'm learning to cook slowly.
Ooh.
I'm learning to not be afraid of the gym. I mentioned the Stairmaster earlier,
Yep.
which I'm like getting less afraid of. I also have a long history myself with different forms of mental illness. It's one of the reasons why I got into working as an OT and got into the field. But I also have ADHD, so hello, ADHD club.
Hey.
As well as PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And had long history with anxiety and depression as well. So just from being on that journey myself and working through a lot of things, and going to therapy myself and trying to make some of the changes in my own life that I've thought about making but have resisted for so long, maybe. Like going through all of these different things definitely did inform the book as well. Just that idea of needing to change yourself and being too afraid to, knowing that you need to make a change in your life and just not knowing how to start, or not even maybe having awareness of that. And this idea that people can get better, that was something I always wanted to write about, and it came through with this book for sure.
Oh, it definitely did. Sidebar, did you take your meds this morning, Morgan?
I did.
Atta
Thank
girl.
you.
We all
Thanks
took
for
our
the reminder.
medication. You're welcome.
We did. They're changing my meds on me right now. So they literally, when I picked up my meds, they handed me a blister pack. And I was like sitting there, I was like, wow, I feel like a 70-year-old right now.
Yeah.
Like, let me just carry my blister pack with me everywhere to take my meds. But
I could see the advantage of that though, because I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but there are times when I am like, did I take my meds this morning? And I actually
Right?
can't remember. And then I try
Yeah.
and feel it. I usually can feel it kick in where I start to feel settled and calm. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the Vyvanse, baby.
Yeah.
But sometimes I can't. And then I'm like, did I take it? Did I not take it? And then one time
Better
I took
double
an
up.
extra.
Well, and it's like-
Exactly. And then that's terrible.
It's like, honestly, like, I actually really enjoy having it, even though I like shit on it a little bit. But because they're titrating like so specific, I was like, there's no way. No way I could do this myself. Like I would like there's like half tablets and like this, and I was like, yeah, just give me the blister pack. It's totally fine. But
Embrace
okay,
it.
back on track. What led you into writing? Like what kind of made you start writing? Was it more of that like anxiety kind of like journaling and like getting those feelings out, or was there kind of a inspiration in there?
I was always a kid who wrote stuff. So, like in high school, I wrote for a youth magazine, and I wrote for the student newspaper and all of those things. But I tended to be more into nonfiction. And I thought about going into journalism as a career for a little bit, and then decided against that for a few different reasons. But it was always, yeah, more nonfiction that I was drawn to writing. And it really wasn't until my sort of mid 20s that I thought about writing fiction seriously. And I think I was just very intimidated by it previously. I loved reading novels, but it seemed impossible. Like I couldn't wrap my head around actually creating that, like how you could start from nothing and then end up with this with a book shaped thing just seemed like insurmountable to me. So it was sort of a thing that I kept in my mind as like oh, one day I'll give that a try. One day I'd like to try that. And then I had just turned 25. I went to New Orleans to celebrate my birthday. It was Mardi Gras actually, which was super fun. I was there with my friend, and I remember having this moment where they gave me this cake. They brought me this like piece of cake with a sparkler in it in a bar, and there were all these random people, hostile people from Germany, etc., around me, like pretending to be my friend, whatever. Happy birthday, happy birthday. And I just had this moment of like, whoa, time is the thing that applies to me also, not just other people. And like I should maybe actually start this now because I'm still like I'm very young, and so I could actually put some time into this and try and get good at it and not wait. And it was around the same time that my older sister had just had her first baby, and that also made me think like, whoa, time, it's occurring for real.
Yep.
So I should get cracking.
I was gonna say, now that you mentioned New Orleans, some people might get this reference, some people might not. As I look at Rihanna, I don't know. With your cake, did it have the baby in it?
Oh, so I've heard of this, but no, it didn't have the baby.
I've not heard of
I've
this.
heard
It's a
of that.
tradition for Mardi Gras. They make like a big cake and they put like a little plastic baby somewhere in it. And if you get the piece with the baby, it's like
Good luck.
Good luck, basically. I'm gonna have to now go Google it to make sure that it is actually good luck. I just know that it's like a big deal if you
a
get the
good
piece
thing.
with the baby.
Yep.
But
Interesting. Very, very interesting. What then? I mean, you've kind of touched on it a little bit on what led you to write this book, but do you want to dive into that a little bit more? So obviously, like your own family dynamics led into it, like a little bit of your own mental health led into it, but really what inspired this incredible book?
Well, thank you for the kind words for starters. Yeah, there definitely were a few sources of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
My dad is an adoptee, and when he was about 50,
Ooh.
something changed with the way they keep the adoption records in Alberta, where for the first time he got access to his like original records that had his mom's name in them. And so that was the first time when he could actually go out and try to find his biological parents.
Yeah.
And he ended up establishing this really beautiful relationship with his biological dad and with that whole side of the family, with these half siblings who he'd never met before. And
Mm-hmm.
we all got together one year. I think it was Thanksgiving, and we went to a bunch of them lived in the same city even as us, which was also a bit of that blew my mind. And yeah, we went and did Thanksgiving dinner at my dad's bio sister's house, and met all of these people at the same time. And I just remember being blown away by how similar they were to my dad, not
Mm-hmm.
just in the way they looked, but also little things like how they talked, and even some of the same interests that they share. Like this whole family comes from Manitoba, farming. So they have like whole photo albums of just cows in them, from like, oh, Bessie, she was a prize heifer or whatever, right? I don't even know.
4-H winner.
Yeah.
Exactly. But my dad has always been such a huge animal person, and been so things like that they just really clicked right away. And so I was observing this and starting to wonder, even back then, what other things two half siblings might share despite having been raised apart, and how they might be similar in terms of their, not just even their hobbies or their interests, but also maybe their vices and some of the things that they struggle with too. Um, and then I started to think about what would be the most awkward possible way for two half siblings to meet without knowing that they're actually related. And
Yes.
th- yeah, that led me to this idea of a therapist and her client meeting in the therapy room without any knowledge that they're actually half sisters. And it kind of spiraled outward from there. The One of the main characters, Mickey, I ended up giving her an addiction that came from some
Yes.
of the experiences I've had with my brother Kyle, who's a recovering alcoholic, and just the whole impact that had on our family when I was younger up until now. So that was another source of inspiration for the book. And I was lucky in that he was very open while I was writing and revising it, and was happy to have conversations with me about his own experiences, and how I could reflect some of that truthfully or honestly in the book. So very lucky. And yeah, so lots of different bits and pieces of my personal life, and pieces of my family have for sure come up in the book, although none of it is true, and none of it is specifically based on anyone, which I'm always very careful to point out. Nothing's real.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. So it was amazing to have Morgan on here.
Yes, and join us for our next podcast next week. We actually dive more into the book, but we're so grateful to have had an author today, so that's exciting.
Incredible.
But here we're going to kind of continue a little bit, because we talked about favorite daughter, which is about the two siblings. So last week on your show, if you did tune in, Rhea and Gary talked about their like most memorable sibling stories.
They were pretty unhinged.
They were pretty good. I mean, but I listened to it last week and I was so sad that I got to miss this because I wasn't here last week. So I thought that it would be fun to share another story.
Please.
And, I'll share one of mine. Maybe Rhea can think of a short one, because I kind of have two that I want to share.
Share
But,
away.
like,
tell us about your unhinged sibling stories.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my poor sister. Let me preface this with, I do really love her. She's one of my best friends, but we do have 6 years between us. So I would honestly say like she's probably 6 or 7. So I would have been 13 when this happened. Man, I'm such an ass now that I'm thinking about it. Anyways, so me and my sister were upstairs. She had bunk beds, which used to be my bunk beds. I loved them. But anyway, she was on the top bunk, and I don't know if we were fighting or what we were doing, but I yanked her so hard that she ended up actually like flying off the top bunk and smacking herself on the ground. And I remember just sitting there. I'm like, oh my God, Katya, like, you can't tell mom and dad I pulled you off. Just say you fell out of bed. And so my sister, being my little sister, said, I fell out of bed, and she's downstairs crying because she's like, Mom, like, my shoulder hurts. I can't move my arm. And my dad, you're fine. you're fine. And then she wouldn't stop crying and screaming, and he got mad. So he was like, sent her to bed without dinner. Like, that sounds like literal abuse, but like, it was after dinner she didn't eat because she was sore. And my dad's like, Kate, fine. If you're going to be like this, just go to bed.
Yep.
Anyways, me being the 13-year-old sister who actually kind of felt bad that she pulled her sister off the bunk bed.
Yes.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring her a snack. I'll sneak something upstairs for her so that she's not hungry. And I go in, I'm like, hi, Katya, like, how are you feeling? And she's crying, and she's like, my shoulder hurts. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I brought you a snack.
Which is super sweet.
And Katya's like, oh, like, thank you. And I handed her the snack, and she looked at me, and she's like, are you actually kidding me?
What was the snack?
I brought her a box of raisins. Like those little tiny red boxes of raisins.
The shittiest snack you could bring, not even chocolate covered raisins, but just like super plain ones that are probably hard from
Like,
being in
yeah,
the closet.
and those like little red boxes with the lady's
yes,
face on it.
that you get at Halloween from like the super sucky house.
Yeah, the old lady down the block.
Yep.
But
That's been
anyways,
sitting in the pantry.
anyways, so that's that. And then the next day, like, my mom was like, holy, like, she's really bruised. And they took her to the hospital.
Yeah.
And my sister actually had a broken collarbone. So not only did I break my sister's collarbone, I brought her a box of raisins.
The worst
for
kind of
supper.
snack. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's a little whoopsies.
We love our siblings, don't we?
Yeah.
We love them deeply.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, kind of. So this is a little bit, what's the word I want to use? Off color. Some off color commentary.
Oh, I love
my dog just got neutered last week. So my mom was joking that we're going to have my dog sitting there with no balls. And then my brother, he's fine now, so we can joke about it, but he had testicular cancer. So he has one ball, and then put my boyfriend next to him with two balls. So my mom just made that joke yesterday at my nephew's birthday party.
0, 1, 2.
My brother's fine. He's totally okay now. Like, it's
Oh my
been like a
God.
month. He's in remission, I think we can say. But
I love that though. That's
makes
at
some
your
jokes.
nephew's birthday.
Yeah,
How old's your nephew?
he's 4. He
Oh,
didn't
geez.
understand. He was outside playing.
Oh geez. Okay.
But, oh my
that's
gosh.
good.
We have our reader stories too.
I gotta tell you
You
one
got
now.
another one?
I do.
Okay, please.
So it's about my sister still, clearly.
Of course.
We're older now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in like second year university. It's like 2016, it was after. It was probably 2018, 2019. And my cousin and I were like, we're going to have a few drinks and just chill. And we had a really great buzz going. And my sister's like, well, like, I want to drink with you guys too. And we're Italian. Let me preface, we've been drinking since we were like 2 years old. We've had sippy cups with wine and lots of Sprite. So,
Yep.
like, we've been drinking wine forever. But, like, wine does nothing to me. It just gives me a headache sometimes if I
Yeah.
drink too much red. But anyways, so my sister's like, I want to be drinking with you too. Like, I want to be involved. So what did Alessia do?
Oh boy.
I set out 4 shot glasses. Okay. We had 4 different kinds of Crown Royal. Like, we had Crown Royal regular, Crown Royal vanilla, Crown Royal apple. Vanilla, and peach. So there was 5 shots. I filled each glass up and I was like, okay, Katya, you gotta shoot them all. I made my 16-year-old sister take 5 shots back to back.
Just give her a little bit of alcohol poisoning.
No, it gets so much worse. So then we're upstairs and like me and Hannah are great. And Katya's like, oh man, I'm not feeling too good. But
I
like
bet she didn't.
she's drunk. Like she is fucked out of her mind. And she comes into my bathroom. And again, let me preface, I don't live at home. So I have my like suitcase, and my clothes and like
Yep.
everything in there. My sister comes in. She's like, yeah, I don't feel great. And started projectile vomiting all over my bedroom. So like my suitcase, my clothes, my bed, my carpet, everywhere. And so my cousin and I just looked at each other. We're like, and we are sober.
Yep. Oh my gosh, nothing sobers you up faster than projectile.
And my sister to this day cannot drink Crown Royal at
Yeah,
all.
I don't blame her.
She has never touched it again.
I don't blame her. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
My bad. I'm a
Siblings
dick.
are the best. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's what our contest was about too,
Yeah.
is like your best, most unhinged sibling stories. So we
Yeah.
had 2 copies of Morgan's book to give away. The first one we are giving away to at Reading and Needing, aka Leah. She messaged me and said she was kind of funny. She didn't preface her message at all. She just goes right into it. My brother once slammed my head in the car door and then cried because he thought he knocked my brains out. And then she sends another message for the giveaway, not just because I'm telling you a story about my brother. And it apparently happened at lunchtime and she had to go to school with a headache because God forbid she take a sick day. And she was fine. She was just hurt.
But her brains came out her ears.
Apparently, her brains came out her ears.
Wild. What color was it when it comes out your ears? Is it still gray?
Pink.
Brain matter? Sorry, that's not funny. Congratulations, Leah. We
Super
love you. That was
excited.
great.
And then
I was gonna say our next one is like our winner. It's pretty
This is
pretty great. So
number
our
one.
our last copy of the book is going to.
Jen, aka Carbs After Dork, she messaged me and she has 2 3/4 sisters. So not half sisters, 3/4 sisters. She says they share a bio dad, so they're half siblings, but their moms are biological sisters. So 3/4 siblings, 1/4 cousins, which makes her dad her uncle through marriage. Can you follow that?
And I mean they're 1/4, so 1/4 cousins. Oh, that's weird because then your aunt would actually be your sister's biological mom. That's messy.
Yeah. Well, your uncle's your dad's your uncle.
I can't do that.
No.
That's so wild.
So Jen, you get your
Winner.
copy of Favorite
Winner, chicken
Daughter.
dinner. Oh my
Amazing.
gosh. Okay, well, I mean, this has been a sweet episode.
It's been a fantastic
I'm gonna shout out
episode.
right now.
Yeah.
Katya, I
Oh.
love you. I'm so sorry I was a bully. At least I love you now.
And I guess since we're doing this, Taddy, I love you. You're the best. Sorry you hurt me so much growing up. And Michael, I'm so sorry that you only have 1 ball now, but I'm glad that you're cancer free.
Single ball Michael.
1 ball, Mike.
1 ball Mike. Your
Oh my
poor
gosh,
brother. I'm
my
so
poor
sorry.
He's like 6'5". He can beat me up now. It's fine.
So let's end this here. I mean, guys, we love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. It means the world to us that you're listening to our podcast, and
we love
know
having
what?
you here.
It's
Thank you
great.
so much. It's not that kind of book club with lessonry.
yeah, a bookish podcast where we read it so you don't have to.